quite a while. It's of the A P Nymph, which is a kind of an old school nymph pattern, but still it's a great nymph. And I've seen a few videos here and there of people tying it, but I want to tie it for you. I first learned this pattern in my beginning fly tying class in Steamboat Springs back in the 1980s. And Andre Puyans wrote an article in Angler magazine in 1975 about this pattern. So it's an old pattern, but it's still a real effective one. I mean, you can still, I fish this pattern. I'll put, like if I'm using a Euro rig, I'll put my my little tungsten beaded weighted flies, my little jig style flies, my point fly, and oftentimes I'll use some form of an AP Nymph as my top fly, and I continue to catch plenty of fish on it because it's just a great nymph pattern. So let's go ahead and begin with this fly, and I'm going to use the old school hook for this is a Mustad 3906B, which is a 1 extra long, 1 extra heavy nymph hook, and that is still a good hook for it. You can do, like a Tiemco. Here's a Tiemco. Let me get it in the camera here. There we go. Get the glare out of it. It's a Tiemco 3761. This is a 2 extra heavy, 1 extra long, but it still would work just fine for it. The little bit of difference in this is a sprout bend, which has a little slope in it compared to a perfect bend, which is the 3906B, or there's any variety of hooks you can use for it. A standard nymph hook is 1 extra long, but you could go to 2 extra long on this one, like a Tiemco 9671. There's a lot of patterns you could do. So let's go ahead and let's start this. Okay, so this is actually a lead substitute, and it's 15 thousandths of an inch. There's a definite formula for adding this weight to the hook. Okay, it is 20 minus the hook size. So in this case, 20 minus 10 is 10, and so I'm going to do 10 wraps of lead. You guys have seen me do this before. I work with my lead off of my spool, and I'm going to come in here, pinch that. There's 1 wrap, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I bring that up. I'm going to get my little side cutters here. Side cut it. And then I'll just tighten it up, twist it and tighten it up. The only trick with working with a spool is you got to point, the bobbin at the hook shank. You can't wrap it like thread, but you got to point the bobbin at the hook shank, okay? So now I'm going to place this lead so that the back of the lead is in about the 50% point on the hook shank, and then I'll come in, I'll start my thread. So you probably want to use a 6/0 thread on this for this size. You might want to drop down to smaller threads for the if you're going to go down smaller. So anyway, I'm going to get a couple wraps there at the beginning. You guys see me do this technique before too. I take this piece of thread and I lay it back over the hook shank, and then I come in and I grab it like that. So now that piece of thread is lying across the hook shank, and I take my scissors here and I'll cut it. Then I'll come through and I'll wrap with the wraps of the thread, and what's happening is my thread wraps are kind of dropping down in there. They're grabbing that piece of thread, and as they suck it down in the lead, it's squeezing the lead in. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a piece of gold wire, because I'm going to rib this with gold wire. just like my, I think I'll kind of take a little bit of that off, got kinked up. Just like my lead, I work with my wire on a bobbin. It's just, I find it easier to control, so I'm just going to lay that in there, capture it, and then come back here with the thread to the tie-in point, to right about there. Perfect bend. It's just pretty much just a little bit in front of the, it's just behind the point of the hook a little bit, maybe about halfway. That's pretty good though. I guess I maybe wrap another wrap or two. Okay, so now let's come forward and go to the back of the lead. So my next material is going to be moose body hair. Okay, so I'm going to take a swath of moose body hair. I'm going to pull the underfur out of it. I guess I can grab my comb here. I don't know, there's not. You can't pull most of it out with your fingers. Put it in my stacker here. Go ahead and I'll stack it. Okay, so now I want my tail to be about the same length as, so let's come back here to this for a moment. The lead area is going to be the thorax of the nymph. The space behind it is the abdomen, okay, and then I leave a little space for a head out front here. So I want my tails, grab one long one. I want to take my tails and I want to make them about as long as the abdomen on the hook. So I kind of go there and I see that's about the right space. So I slide that measurement back, come in here right behind the hook eye and get a couple wraps of that moose right there. Now that's too many fibers for my tail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here, and this will do a couple things. This will, one, it'll thin the tail out a little bit. But it will also then put a little taper in the body itself. So now I'm going to just grab all those moose fibers, lift them up, pull them slightly towards me, because then my thread will take them back around to the top of the hook shank. And they're going to end up on top of the hook shank just like that. And then I'll pull my tails up. Let me see if I can get all my moose fibers here, get them all up. Oops, keep losing a couple there. Trying to get the wire out of the way. There we go. Whoops. Okay, so now I'm going to just take and just do one little post wrap behind the tail, just to kind of set the tail up just a little bit like that, just to get it up off the. Now, Puyans, all of his patterns did real natural dubbing. I'm using a Nature Spirit. Let's get in there. Okay. Nature Spirit Hair's Mask dubbing. But if you look in it, I don't know if you can see it. It's got, let me get this side. You can see there's a little bit of sparkle material in there. There's a little bit of a blend. And you can blend it even more if you want. You know, you can add some disco dub or some kind of flash in it or whatever. But the traditional one just uses a dyed, this for an olive one, it just uses a dyed olive, like a muskrat or hare's ear, that sort of thing. Okay, so now here's the thing about the abdomen. You want to keep it really sparse. You don't want to get much dubbing on there. You want to keep it really tight because you want a pretty big distinction between the abdomen and the thorax. So there we go. Now I'm going to pull up my wing case, get a couple wraps right in front here to kind of set all that in place. Okay, so now I'm going to take my gold wire And I'm just going to do a nice spiral, evenly spaced spiral wrap forward and add a little rib to the back. And at the same time, we're adding just a little bit of flash to the back of this nymph. Maybe one more right at the moose. Now I'm going to come in here. Now what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to whip finish the wire. You can whip finish wire, not a lot of whips. I'm just going to do 2 on it. Pull it back and tighten it up. Okay. So now I'll take my side cutters here rather than use my scissors, and I'll just come in here and cut the wire. Now I'll throw some thread wraps over top of the wire that's there. Just kind of cover it with a few wraps of thread. Okay, so now I'm going to come back and get my dubbing again. Now I want to make my thorax pretty robust. So I'm going to come back in here. And one of the ways I'm going to do this is I'm going to stack most of these wraps right up against the moose, because I really want the thorax to kind of get a real sense of differentiation from the abdomen. I want there definitely to be a very robust, heavy thorax, and I want to keep the abdomen kind of slim. I don't know if the fish care. I don't really know one way or the other. It's just, for me, this kind of looks right. Okay, so you can see I got a pretty nice ball of dubbing there. Maybe I might just add just a touch more, not a lot. I'll just kind of put one more right there through the center of that and just get it a little bit more robust. Now you'll notice I'm actually just on the front of the lead. So I'm going to pull my wing case forward. I'm going to hold it in place and come and get like 3 wraps behind there, and then come back and hold it in place and pull it down. Maybe one more wrap. So you can see I got the wing case pulled in there nice and tight. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in along the sides of this. I'm going to grab these moose fibers. And you know, a nymph has, mayfly nymph has 3 legs. So you can grab 3, maybe 4. I don't think it matters. I don't think the trout are going to count legs and go, oh, that's not real. By the way, this is a good little bluegill pattern too. I've used these, tied them a little more elongated. I've used them for damselfly nymphs. Okay, let's see. I just want to get maybe 3 of these. Okay. Let me separate these out there. Let's see, what have I got there? Yeah, there we go. Get one more. And we'll hold that back there like that. Come in here. A couple wraps. Pull my legs back a little bit. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to take my legs, take my head, this here, and I'm just going to snip it off right at an angle there. Then pull my legs back, get them out of the way, and come in and overwrap that area. Okay. So now the last step in this, let's push this out here so you can see it a little better. The last step in this is I'm going to add just a little bit of a dubbed head on it. This is pretty much the way Puyans tied it. I'm trying to be pretty faithful to his design on this. So the head should be considered about 1/10 the whole body. So just a wrap or 2 right there. That's probably enough. It doesn't take very much. And then I'll come in here and finish out and do a little whip finish. I don't put any glue on these trout nymphs. On this particular one anyway, I leave it. Now I'm going to trim my legs, and here is the way that you're supposed to trim the legs on these. Okay, let's see if I can get my fingers out of the way here and show you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to hold them parallel to the angle on the hook eye. But I'm going to put the point right back here against the back of the thorax. So I'm going to take this, pull these legs back, get them down at an angle, and then I take my scissors, I put the angle parallel to the hook eye, put the points against the back of the thorax, and trim. And then pull these legs out. And they're not very long. Let me get them pulled out. And you can see them in there. Oops, I got one stray there that got real long. Let's cut that to the same length. So you can see they're not real long. They're pretty short, okay? And then the last thing I always do with these is I take, it's right in front of me actually, I take a little wire brush and I come in here and I just fuzz it up. Particularly fuzz the edges of the thorax up, or the abdomen up, because remember, if this is a mayfly nymph, mayfly nymphs, the gills on a mayfly nymph are along the sides of the abdomen. They're along the side here. Okay, so if you just pick it out a little bit, fuzz it up, that would be a pretty good representation if you're fishing here in Colorado. That'd be not a bad representation of a little green drake nymph. They tend to be about that color and about that size. Now, a couple of little design things. The moose is a hollow hair, just like deer. And so supposedly, I mean, I've never done any like underwater studies on it. Supposedly this will have some flotation in it, and it'll help this nymph ride upright in the water. But when nymphs are tumbling in the water, they tumble around anyway naturally. So I don't think it matters too much. And then so you got just a little bit of weight on it. So this thing isn't it's a good sort of midstream nymph, and it's a good pairing. It's a good nymph to pair on a Euro rig. It works real well. So anyway, there's the standard Euro nymph, or the standard AP nymph in